Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Jen and Sharon. Appropriately enough, we're talking about our overwhelm today, and we're just a few minutes late because, well, here we are.
That's how we roll these days. I feel like every day I wake up and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing today. Somebody help me. I need a handler.
Well, we should remind everyone that we are editors for your team. I don't know if we can even see. I'm in the dim here. We're tweaking.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we're all in that state, Jen. I know I am. I just like wake up and I feel like my mind's going a mile a minute. Like I'm almost jittery because a lot of us are in that. There's that end of school year, which always has like, it's a big change. It has all those ceremonial things and just like a lot to pay attention to. And then at the same time, of course, we're starting summer, which has its own set of routines and rhythms or no rhythm or routine, which can be a problem. New jobs for teenagers.
That's usually the issue for me, is that the routine and the structure kind of goes away or changes daily.
And then don't forget, we have almost this post-pandemic situation happening where now, we're all getting nice and vaccinated and going out in the world again safely, and everything's happening. Where schedules are filling up. And it's just, it's a lot all at once. I don't know if that's part of it for you, Jen.
I think it's all of the above. Also add into that like we just had we're doing some elder care in our lives. It's that sandwich generation thing. There's stuff on either side and it kind of squeezes you in. And I realized today that I have a list of all these things I need to do. And they're all the things I've pushed off for the longest time. Like, I have to go get a colonoscopy. Whee, that's super fun. I mean, no wonder that falls to the bottom of the list. The car needs maintenance. Just that kind of stuff. The routine stuff kind of gets pushed off because you're like, oh, I'll do that later. Yeah, I'll handle it whenever I can. Everybody else's stuff kind of crowds out whatever you need to do. Are you finding that too?
Yes. And I feel like, I mean, my email inbox is always a hot mess, but it's even more than usual. It's like, I'm never catching up on this stuff because I just have too much going on. And
too many browser tabs open.
Always. Oh my gosh, you should see mine right now. I don't even know what I'm doing. But do you have any sort, and I wish I did, like, do you have any sort of like crisis mode where, okay, we're in that state of overwhelm. Let's just focus on these 5 basics. And I mean, this would be a good thing, right?
That would be a good thing. That would be a great thing. And I don't have that. But the closest thing that I have to that is what I did this morning, and why I'm late is I went for a walk. I was like, you know what? I just need to leave everything behind for a little bit, go take care of me. I'll go take a walk. I got hot and sweaty, had to take a shower, and I didn't have time to do my hair. Oh, well. Like something has to go, and yes. I'm okay with that. Summertime is a great time to go makeup free, by the way. If you haven't already done that, I highly recommend it.
You can just do your dewy glow, especially if you go for that walk.
Exactly.
That shine.
Exactly. I have natural glow. That's what I have. A little sunscreen is good. But aside from that, I think tinted moisturizer sunscreen is probably like the best invention ever. Because
I use that.
You only have one thing to do that day. So I'm all about simplifying the routine if I can for myself. And maybe being okay with doing a little bit more, takeout for dinner, or everybody FYO, fix your own. That's a favorite of mine. Yeah, our kids are getting old enough that you can say, everybody, there's stuff in the fridge. There's plenty of ingredients. Everybody wants something different. Just, get creative.
If you're watching now with us or later, drop some of your ideas for how you keep things simple in these crazy, overwhelmed times. Yes. I went and Googled before we got on, and I Googled what to do when you're overwhelmed, because I knew there would be some good discussion points.
Yeah, lay it on me.
So you want to hear some things. So one of the things was there was like 10 tips. I'll have to drop this little article. It's not from your team, but we're happy to share. One of the things was write things down. And I have heard this tip before. Actually, our editor-in-chief, Sue Borson, said this helped her sleep better. She kept a little pad. And one of our experts that she interviewed gave this tip. And if her mind was racing in the middle of the night or when she was trying to fall asleep, she kept a piece of paper, whatever it was, just brain dump on the paper. So I like to take this one step further. I still use a paper calendar. And unfortunately, right now I have too many because we have one on the refrigerator.
Oh, that's a recipe for disaster.
I'm out of practice. This is another post-pandemic thing because we have this big calendar that we put on the fridge, but literally we just took it out for June and I had to tear off most of the unused sheets from this year because we weren't doing anything. And it wasn't like we had to keep track, but now I have, a kid who's taking driving lessons online, like the classroom thing.
Okay.
And the same kid is also working. So he wants a ride a lot of times. Imagine that. Yes. And then I have another kid who's doing a little volunteer work job. So she needs to have that on the calendar too, so we can know who's going to be home for dinner, who needs rides. So I think it makes me feel better when I can see it written out, because otherwise I'm like, I don't know what's happening at 10:30. Like, am I doing coffee with Jen? I'll forget. Right. So I think that's a great tip. I don't know if people who are watching use like Google Calendar or something like that. I just can't wrap my brain around that, because if I get on the computer or my phone, there's just a million other distractions that kind of add to my feeling of too much.
Do you ever do this? I reach for my phone because I want to check my calendar to see what I have going on. But before I get to that, some notification has popped up that pulls me off in another direction. And I go down that rabbit hole, and it might be 10 minutes before I realize, wait, why did I pick up my phone in the first place? Oh, it wasn't to go check this New York Times headline.
Totally.
I get fooled by it all the time, and it's really hard for me to put the blinders on. So maybe something about the paper calendar or the paper list is going analog is helpful, because there's nothing else that's going to come and distract you from what's on that list.
Right.
And also, I know that teachers say this about note-taking for kids too, that your brain remembers it differently and better when you actually write it down versus typing.
So speaking of kids and calendars.
Oh yeah, we have kids too, right?
Yes. So your girls are in college. Actually, one just graduated from college. So you have one in college and one new graduate. And I have high school and middle school. And my question is whether you ever try to set a routine for them in the summer, or are your girls too old now? Do you write stuff down for them that they have to do?
I don't do that anymore. And I did used to, and it kind of didn't work that great, I will have to say. Everybody feel the relief of summer, meaning I am free from structure and I want to enjoy that, which they should. That's fine. But sometimes I feel the need to impose some structure on them that they maybe don't think they need it, or maybe they really don't need it. But I do think, like, for mental health, it is helpful to have some kind of good sleep pattern, eat pattern, instead of just, it does make me a little crazy that the kitchen is open all day long. There's always somebody in there. Like, the minute you have cleaned off the counter, there's a dish there. I'm like, wait, where did this come from? It like generated itself.
We should be used to that. Those of us who had kids at home this year, but right. You had a break because your kids are away at college. You had like a normal kitchen where people right. were gone, and the only messes made were your messes.
Exactly. If the kitchen was clean when I left, it was clean when I came home. That is no longer the case. So that's part of life. I understand people do need to eat. As irritating as that.
We do have, you froze, or maybe I froze, but I'm going to talk just in case you're the only one frozen. We have chores that we add on to in the summer. So normally, and did you freeze or did I? You're back.
I maybe we both did.
Somebody's laughing. So somebody's laughing. Tell us who froze.
Right. Froze. Speaking of overwhelm, apparently
I know
our interwebs are overwhelmed, and they were just like, it just shut down.
Maybe it's the 15 tabs I have open. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe close some tabs.
But I don't have an answer as far as like the kid routine, because I have one kid who thinks, oh, I have a job, so I'm doing something productive.
Oh, Deborah,
it was
me. It was me. It's always me. I really
pick that up. Thank you, Deborah.
My interwebs have been unstable lately. It must be, I think it's a metaphor for what's going on in my mind.
Me. So when you're those watching, tell us what your kids are doing around the house this summer for chores because mine think it's so unfair that so I normally unload the dishwasher when they have a school day because we run the dishwasher. This is one thing we do well. Every night we run the dishwasher after dinner. It runs overnight. It takes hours. I don't know,
Yeah,
this like high
hours.
efficiency. It takes hours. So in the morning it's clean. And then I usually wind up unloading it because we don't want to unload it while people are sleeping right above. It's very rattly and loud. Um, it's oh, Jenna's hilarious. Stay tuned for more.
Yeah, I have to correct
funny.
you. It's with a Z. Interwebs is a Z, in case you were wondering.
Because you're so hip.
Yes.
But anyway, my kids think it's so unfair that they have to unload the dishwasher in the morning.
You're so mean.
but I
You're
mean-
the best ever.
Well, I'm working still, and they're not. So,
Deborah.
all right, Deborah's cracking us up. Sorry.
So yeah, Deborah, since you're joining us this morning, if you want to give us any of your hot tips for how to trick your kids into doing chores this summer, or what to do to keep them, on some kind of schedule, or do you just give up? And
I was instructed last night that I was supposed to ask everyone about screen time because we're having a battle with one of our kids about how much screen time is okay in the summer. So tell me, do you just let it be a free-for-all? Or are there limits? Or is it like not before noon and not after a certain hour? So tell me so I can learn from your wisdom about screen time because our kids think we're the only ones who have a problem with unlimited screen time.
Yeah.
Lori's busy. 2 sets of contractors working at our house right now. We have our son's graduation party. What routine? Yeah. There's no routine when you have all that going on.
No, there isn't. And I feel like I spend half my life waiting for some man to show up to do something at my house. So
we have
Christina has something to say here too.
Dishwasher.
The last one is great.
Boss me around for rides. Oh, we're very familiar with that.
Yep. Oh, Christina, we totally.
So, Christina, are these summer chores or are these year-round chores?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is there any difference?
Yeah,
I'm curious about that.
And also, I do think it's fun when your kids first get a job and then they realize that they're tired. It makes you tired to have a job, and then I can't make dinner because I have work today. And you're like, oh,
yes,
I've never done that. I've never done both things in the same day. I don't know how anybody does that. These are things that they come to gradually. I mean, I will say, I remember my first job working waitressing at a country club and standing on my feet for hours at a time. And I came home and I really was exhausted. You have to develop the stamina for it. So I understand kids are not born to that. They have to learn it.
I had the same situation when one of my first jobs was McDonald's, and it was exhausting. And I had a clothing allowance that I was allowed to spend on clothes, and I had to buy black shoes to work at McDonald's. They gave us.
They were ugly. I can tell you right now, they were ugly. Right?
The uniforms or the shoes?
The shoes, probably everything.
No, I was allowed to buy whatever shoes I wanted.
So
I bought like the cheapest pair of black kids with the paper thin sole, and then I stood on those for 8 hours, and I was dying of.
I bought myself
nursing
shoes. I bought nurse shoes for my waitress job.
Well, that's smart. You probably had more comfortable. Your feet are probably healthier today because of it.
I did the same thing you did. You just had to wear white shoes. So I went and bought, the sportiest little kids I could find. And then after one day of that, I was like, now I understand why all the waitresses who worked here a long time, why they have those crepe soled shoes that are hideous, but very comfortable. Yeah. Okay, we've got a few more comments here to share.
But this was in response to the question about chores and whether it's the same chores during the summer. Year-round, but more enforced during the summer. Oh, I feel that. Yeah, because you're I don't know about you, but I'm like, well, now we're all here. You're not running off to school or practice or whatever. So you can do your chore that you are always supposed to be doing.
I used to be more lenient when there was the homework excuse. If the homework goes away, then there's no good reason for them to skip out of doing the dishes. So I think I get Christina's vibe on that.
I love this because Deborah's kids aren't home, but they have an apartment and they're arguing with each other about who's cleaning up the kitchen or even the apartments. They're both guilty. Don't you love so have you ever had this? where your kid comes home and complains about someone at work or
about the
roommate.
other kid, or about the other sibling not being tidy. And you're like,
Yeah.
have you looked around?
Yeah. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they're seeing, I don't know if they've put together like, oh, I'm saying this about this other person. And I could also say it about myself too. I don't know if they've put that together yet.
That part yet. No. No. It only goes one direction at this age. It takes a while.
Oh, so other things on this famous list about what to do when you're overwhelmed. Oh, I did learn something recently too from a book. I'm going to start with this. So there's this book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's really good. It's about simplifying not just simplifying your life, but like setting your priorities in life so that you can get rid of the stuff that you don't prioritize. Nice. So that's a great Essentialism. It's a great book. And then he has a new book called Effortless, which I didn't love as much, but it's about like how to make doing the things that you prioritize easier. And his one really gem that I thought was helpful was don't just list the things that you're going to do that day, set an upper limit on time. So if you want to exercise every day, say I'm going to exercise or walk, say it's walk. I'm going to walk for at least 10 minutes, but no more than 45. Mm-hmm. So then there's no pressure like, oh, I never do that really long walk. I skipped these other days, so I should be doing extra. So it helps to like make everything a little more bite-sized if you set an upper limit.
Well, I do that because my goal is I'm going to floss at least twice a year, the 2 days I go to the dentist. I'm crushing it. I am 100% on that goal. Anybody who's a dental hygienist out there who's watching this, please don't berate me. I already know.
Jen.
Someday when all my teeth fall out, I have only myself to blame. I get it.
Oh, Deborah has a tip when she's overwhelmed and can physically move. She likes to go for a drive and listen to music, sometimes singing at the top of my lungs. Okay.
That's a good idea. I like that. I have a friend who she did that during the pandemic with her son at times when they were either just feeling bored or antsy and there wasn't anything to do. They would just go for a nice long drive. They live kind of in the country, so they could go out for a nice long drive, listen to music, and it was a really good time for them to connect because there was that lack of eye contact and no agenda. It was just like, let's just go for a drive. And maybe if at the end of that drive, there is a Shake Shack that you gotta, go get a milkshake from, what a nice bonus that would be. So maybe in the summertime, we should give ourselves some permission to not do all the things on the list every day.
But in terms of the drive, I actually secretly enjoy sometimes doing errands that way too. If you can stack like 8 errands you have to do, you can do them with kids if they enjoy doing them and fit that lunch in, which is fun. But also if you can do them by yourself, there's all that driving time in between where you can listen to whatever podcast or music you want.
That's my NPR time. I love to listen to NPR in the car.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know, for me, just having that list of errands focuses here's some tiny little structure. If you have 8 things to get done and you can drive from one to the next, it's pretty simple when you just that, and you can't do anything else while you're driving. Like you can't
feel so accomplished too.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, like all those returns are gone, or the library books are back, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, we have some other great comments here. Love the driving idea. Thank you, Milagros. And audiobooks will encourage long walks. That is a great idea. And I've heard the tip that you save one for just your walking or whatever your exercise is. So then it's like, oh, I want to know what happens next. Mm-hmm. So then you get refreshed by both the exercise and your time away because you can disconnect, listen to your audiobook. Love that.
That's a good idea. I do that. I have done that with some podcasts that I really enjoyed. And oh, by the way, did you know your teen has a podcast?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Doing stuff every 2 weeks, a new podcast. So if you haven't ever listened, you got a whole bunch. You could start at the beginning and or look for the topics you like.
The new one is Julie Lithcott-Hames, who's the author of How to Raise an Adult. And she has a new book out called How to Be an Adult. It's for young adults. And I haven't gotten a chance to even listen to our newest podcast yet, but she is always a fantastic interviewer. We've interviewed her met your team before, and she's wonderful. So
yeah, I think the name of the book is it Your Turn? Something like that? Your Turn?
Yeah. Your Turn.
It's you, and that is for the young adults. So
yes,
it could be just that it just gets slid onto their bedside table. But our friend Jody said she likes to do that. Like she'll just pick out books for her kids and just sort of lay it on their table just to see if they might pick it up and read it. I love that too.
Yeah. Well, we should let everybody go.
Yes.
Excuse me, so that you can return to your to-do list. Hopefully,
I'm going to go make my to-do list.
I have to say, hanging out and chatting and hearing everybody talk and knowing we're all feeling kind of this way has helped me. It's like a little release because it's permission. Coming to the video is permission to take a little break, which we can do.
I think we can. Oh, and I wanted to give one more tip out there I forgot about, which is I do like to write things down myself, and I actually do sometimes still use a paper calendar as well. But if you're more electronically inclined, I discovered an app that my husband recommended to me that I actually do like, and it's called Todoist. Todoist. And it's sort of a nice combination of digital and analog because it can exist by itself. You don't have to link it to your calendar or anything crazy, but it's just a way to kind of, you can sort things into buckets. So I have buckets of like, here's some things I need to do for myself personally, and you can assign deadlines to them, or you can just leave it on. And then, but it feels so good when you check them off. It just goes like, poof, and it goes away.
Oh.
Or, so you can have, and then I have one for like different clients I'm working with or different projects I'm working on for work. So you can have a work one, a home one, a personal one, whatever. So
does it remind you too then if you wanted to?
Yeah, it can if you wanted to.
If you have a deadline. So and you can do it on your phone. It fits all those things.
Yes, it can. It's an app, so you can use it on your phone or your desktop. And
cool.
It's free, and I like it. It's a little bit like Trello, which you and I both use sometimes for work, but it's more shrunken down for like usable bite size on your phone.
All right.
So if any of that was helpful to anybody, we've more than done our job today, because usually we just show up and talk. So we set the bar low. So
actually, tell us how we can be helpful or what you want to talk about. You can always tell us what we should talk about next time.
Yes. Yeah. Todoist is the app. Exactly.
Did I spell it right?
Yep. I think there's probably some capitals in there somewhere. Maybe it's a capital T and a D or something, but you'll find it. If you put that in, you'll find it.
The App Store is very helpful in helping you find all the stuff.
Love that stuff. And if you don't like it, you delete it and you move on with your life. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Yeah. So tell us what you want to talk about next week, because we don't have a topic yet. Sometimes Tuesday night, Sharon will text me and she'll be like, hey, guess what? Tomorrow is Wednesday. We're like, oh my God, how is it Wednesday again? How did this
Luckily,
happen?
we always love hanging out with you guys. So it's not like it's not a strain, but we do want to know what to talk about. So it helps us if you want to know what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's probably on our mind too.
It most definitely is. So, and if you haven't got enough of us already, you can also subscribe to our Your Teen weekly newsletter. If you don't get that yet, then you can have us in your inbox, and then you can hear us anytime you want.
And Jen has been putting GIFs in the newsletter because she thinks they're fun.
Those. They are kind of fun. And I
know
GIFs. Here's the thing. The people who developed it say choosy programmers choose GIF. That's how you're supposed to remember that it's a hard. But I kind of preferred GIF myself. So, because when I see Giphy, like GIPHY, I think is who you can get some of your GIFs or GIFs from. That to me, that should be pronounced Giphy, not Jiffy. So.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's a problem. I don't know what to do. Somebody tell us what is the right way. We don't know.
Right. Well, we'll drop a link for the famous newsletter.
Yes.
And we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Take care, everybody.
All right.